I am the CHALL, your content for Doncaster Rovers Football Club, and welcome to this DRFC Daily Reports. This is all about the latest news and transfer activity surrounding Doncaster Rovers. We're going to be discussing a couple of things today. We're going to be sharing why Lokilo was subbed at half-time, because I know a few fans were a little bit bewildered about that. But also we're going to speak mainly about comments recently, as a few hours ago, from Jon Taylor, who of course scored his first goal of the campaign in the Bristol Rovers victory this past weekend. He is excited. He's been sharing his thoughts to the Free Press about how exciting the potential of this team is. So we're going to be sharing all of Taylor's comments as well as the stuff in the article about that. We're sharing you why Darren Moore was subbed at half time, and I'm going to have a little discussion towards the end of the video. I know it probably deserves its own separate video, but I wanted to do it in this video, not to make this video longer or anything like that, but I wanted to discuss something outside of League One, and it's called VAR and the Handball rule. Now, before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click notifications while seeing every YouTube video, strap into your buckles and strap to your seatbelts because this is going to be a bumpy one. And before we get into all that discussion about handball and VAR, let's talk about Donny Rovers, and let's talk about Taylor's comments recently about this potentially exciting Rovers team. So, from the Free Press, Jon Taylor has declared himself more excited than ever to be part of the Doncaster Rovers squad after being impressed by the quality of the new signings at the club. The forward spoke in glowing terms about the potential of the side following the impressive 4-1 win over Bristol Rovers, in which he scored his first goal of the season and helped to continue the strong start to the campaign. Now, Taylor spoke officially to the Free Press, and it states as follows: "I don't want to sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but we are a very good team. When we get the ball down, pass it, and everyone is on it, we play really good stuff. I said it last year that it's so exciting playing in this team. This year it's even more exciting, so it's great to be involved at the minute. I'm just enjoying at the minute and enjoying working every day with the lads in training. The gaffer has brought in some unbelievable talent. There's young lads and a few that are older and more experienced and tried to keep their head on the game for them. But honestly, they're great to watch. It's great to see them develop in training each day." So Taylor, who has enjoyed a strong start to the campaign himself, has spoken regularly about wanting to increase his goal tally for the club since joining last year on a free transfer from Rotherham United, of course. He was pleased to get off the mark for the season, along with playing his part in each of the other 3 strikes of the afternoon. He then spoke to the Free Press on this, saying, "I've had a couple of chances in the last few games, so I'm happy to get off the mark and hopefully I can kick on now. I've always wanted to score goals. Every season I wanted to score loads of goals. Last season I scored 6, but I honestly could have had 12 to 15 and that annoyed me. Hopefully this year I can take my chances. The lads play good football and they always give the ball to me in good areas where it's down to me to try to create stuff." So there we go, that is speaking about Jon Taylor's comments about this very exciting Doncaster Rovers team, seeing the young players develop, seeing the more experienced players keep their heads in the game, and seeing the development of this Rovers side and the signings we've brought in. Now, I did see something somewhere where it was said that Charlie Seaman, who is our, of course, right-back trialist, apparently he was a trialist on Saturday for Maidstone United. Of course, that was one of his former loanee clubs as a Bournemouth player. So, I've got a bad feeling that Seaman will be signing for possibly Maidstone, or it could be signing for a different club, but I've got a bad feeling that we've passed that deadline and Seaman hasn't signed, which, to an extent, it's disappointing, but I think there are better options out there, or, there are definitely other options out there, but we do need someone that's going to compete with Halliday, so I think that if we can get a right back in, and maybe a holding midfielder as well, because I know we discussed that about a week ago now, in the last DRFC Daily Report a week ago, we said about how more reports that you want to have another holding midfielder and a right back to compete with Halliday. If we can get both those positions filled by the end of the window next week, I think we've had a very good window. I think we've had a very good transfer business. But Taylor's comments, again, everything with this club at the minute is so positive. Everything's just positive upon positive upon positive, and you can hardly find negatives anywhere. There's like little one things, like in the first half of a game, like with the Bristol Rovers game, for example. I mentioned that we needed to do, more quick 1-2s, more composure on target, and taking chances. And in the second half, we delivered that, but we just did a little bit more of that in the first half. But I think apart from that, honestly, this club is going in such a big direction. And I watched the EFL on Quest on Saturday night when the highlights came out from all the games from Championship, League One and League Two. And I was hearing them. I was watching and hearing them talking about Colin Murray. I think Dean Ashton was there, and Simon Grayson. That's it. Dean Ashton, Simon Grayson, and Colin Murray, and they were discussing about Doncaster potentially being a dark horse for promotion. And I've said for ages, if Ipswich do what they did last season, which is, in my opinion, bottle it in the second half of the season, and they start to drop points, if Hull drop points where they shouldn't do, if Lincoln start dropping points, and if Doncaster keep winning, we could be top of the table by Christmas. And if we keep going on an unbeaten run, whether it's, mainly wins, but maybe 2-3 draws in there, so only a couple of times where we drop points, if it's still unbeaten by Christmas, which is, I know, a big stretch, but I think even if we stay unbeaten till the end of October, I think we could be in a very strong shout for promotion here, and I think we're going to absolutely smash the record, the points tally from last season. I think we can absolutely smash that. So it's going to be interesting. I think Taylor's comments will definitely help the squad morale. I think the squad morale will just keep getting better and better. I think that if we bring in a new right back and we bring in another holding midfielder just to fill the place on the bench, I think we're going to have a very good squad to compete for the title. I think we could compete for the title, and I'm not being two ways about it. I think Doncaster are the underdogs for the title, and I think we are in a shout here, especially this early on in the season. So just keep the winning run, unbeaten run going against teams like Wickham and Shrewsbury this October, and by the end of October, we could be top of the league. We could still be in the top 3. We could be in top 2. We could be first. Even top 4. Even if we're still 4th, that's still really good and something we can build on for the next month. And don't forget, last day in September, I'll be releasing my monthly review. I'll be checking out all the results, all the signings we've made in September, and speak about the month in general and rate it out of 10. So stay tuned for that video at the end of the month. But let's go into our next story now, and that is from Jason Lokilo, and a little update as to why he was subbed off at half-time for James Coppinger against Bristol Rovers on Saturday. So this one was a very simple update. The winger didn't emerge for the second half and was replaced by James Coppinger, who produced an excellent performance, by the way. Now, Moore has said he took off Lokilo as a precautionary measure to prevent more injuries for the Belgian. He said officially to the Free Press, Jason came off with more fatigue. He had a good start, had a good game last week. It was a really tough week in training. We pulled him off with more of a precaution as he started to tighten up. We pulled him off, Cops came on and did absolutely superbly. So there we go, just a little update there, nothing too much to speak about really. Darren Moore just brought him off just to give him a bit of a rest. And to be fair, Coppinger, this is the good thing about this squad. We've got so much depth that we can bring a player on for the bench and he performs amazingly. For Jiri, when he came on in the second half, for the last couple of minutes plus 7 minutes at a time, he was fantastic. Coppinger in the second half, he was magnificent. He was playing like the legend we know he is. And there's so much going on with the squad right now, and I think, Moore was taking a precautionary measure, and it's kind of like James again in the Charlton match. He brought him off, precautionary measure, fatigue, keep him fit, and start him in the next game. And to be fair, I think they'll probably start with Lokilo against Wigan on Saturday, but it's going to be tough because Coppinger pulled out an excellent performance, so maybe they do want to start with Coppinger, who knows. Just a little update there though now. To end the video, it's time for the big discussion I'm talking about. We're going to move slightly away from League One, but not too much, because I want to talk about that and why I'm glad there's no VAR in League One. But moving away a little bit from League One, because there's something I want to discuss on the Daily Reports for a lot of time, and it's football in general. And you guys know me, we are a Doncaster Rovers channel. We pre-produce the latest news, match previews, match reviews, anything to do with Donny Rovers is here on the channel. But when something comes up that I want to speak about in football in general, I'll speak about it, and I'll speak about it using this platform. We spoke about it with Charlton's ownership, with Macclesfield's ownership. Now we're doing something different. We're going to speak about VAR. And first of all, before I get into my thoughts on the whole, ruling and things like that, I want to show you guys an article from The Guardian about Newcastle manager Steve Bruce's dismissal of, being happy with the point gained at Spurs yesterday. And I want to share all that information and then share my thoughts on the whole VAR handballing rule and what they should do, because I want to speak passionately about football, and this is the platform to do it. So before I start speaking about my thoughts, here is the information from The Guardian about Steve Bruce's reaction. So Steve Bruce, according to The Guardian, has described the combination of VAR and football's new handball rules as nonsense, despite seeing it earn his Newcastle side an ill-deserved draw at Tottenham, and said football's lawmakers should be pushed to reconsider. Newcastle secured a point at a time when Callum Wilson equalised from the penalty spot after replays show Andy Carroll's header had struck an arm of an unwitting Eric Dyer. A draw was an excellent outcome for the visiting side after they had been outplayed, but Bruce said, if you're going to tell me that is handball, then we all may as well pack it in. It's a nonsense of a rule. It's gone for us today, however, it's ludicrous. Bruce appeared to suggest pressure should be put on the International Football Association Board, the IFAB, to change the law, and he agreed with Roy Hodgson, who similarly called it a nonsense, ruining the game of football after Crystal Palace's side's defeat by Everton on Saturday. Bruce said, we've got away with that one. It fell for us today. Maybe we should query these new rules and who makes them. I thought VAR would come in for the clear and obvious. It's ludicrous and I'm not a big lover of it. We saw Roy Hodgson last night. It's a nonsense. We saw a ridiculous one yesterday with Everton and their winning goal. We saw an equally ridiculous one today. I should be happy, but I can't say I agree with it. By contrast, Jose Mourinho, the Spurs manager, chose to say little about the decision, although his demeanour left little to the imagination. He said, if I want to give some money away, I give to charity. I don't want to give to the FA, so I prefer not to comment. That was not quite the end of it, because Mourinho suggestingly cryptically said that the Tottenham box is a special box. He also picked this moment to say Spurs are not treated with respect to the match they're standing. They're standing. The only feel that I'm ready to share, I don't feel Tottenham is respected according to what the club is as a club. No respect, it's just my feeling. So some similar comments there from Steve Bruce and Roy Hodgson, and a little bit there from Jose Mourinho. And the reason why I wanted to share my thoughts on the Daily Reports today is, what if the EFL decide to do this? What if the EFL decide to bring in VAR and the new handball rules into the Championship, League 1 and League 2? And this is where I'll defend League 1. This is where I'll defend the EFL for not doing it yet. The Premier League is ruined. And it's the people up above that have ruined it. It's the people in charge of the handball rules that have ruined it. And I've said this to people privately in the past. I think if imagine you're a sponsor and you want to sponsor the Premier League, and then once you pay the money to sponsor the league, you see the disarray and the fact that there's no fans in the stadiums. I think we're probably going to have a behind closed doors full season, and yet the Premier League will still make money from it. From the revenue, from, different with the sponsors as well. And the Premier League are probably laughing at the sponsors going, haha, you paid all this money for this league thinking it's so great and now watch us screw you over. When you've got a manager that loses the match and a manager that wins the match saying it's nonsense, then something needs to change. And I was watching the analysis, I was watching fans' reactions, I was watching everything from that Spurs game, everything from the Palace game, and they're saying the same thing. It's ridiculous. It's absolute ludicrous. And don't get me wrong, I have watched back that decision about, 15 times now? 15, 20, 25, 30 times? I'm sorry, but if he doesn't use his arms to balance, he's going to injure himself on the landing. You cannot give a handball for something that he has no control over, but apparently that's the new rule. Even if it's accidental, if it strikes the hand, VAR spots it, handball, penalty, even if you didn't mean to do it, even if you have no control of doing it. And that rule should be changed. I'm sorry, but that rule should be changed in my opinion. And I'm so glad, and this is where League 1 comes into it, I'm so glad that VAR isn't in League 1, League 2, even the Championship. But you know how much investment the Championship gets from the EFL and how much League 1 and League 2 get straight aside. And the fact that we need to help those clubs. You just wait, it'll only be a couple of years before VAR gets into the Championship. And then maybe once they've ruined the Championship, like they've ruined the Premier League, maybe they'll see some potential in League 1. And then they'll bring that up, bring VAR into it, ruin it, League 2, and then it will just have a ruined system. It'll just have a ruined system. unless the handball rule gets changed. And, they're right. There needs to be pressure on IFAB. There needs to be pressure on FIFA. There needs to be pressure on all of them. And, you've got to look at the stats and think, hang on a minute. The rules, apparently they want to make the rules fair worldwide. So implement them in the right way worldwide then. Don't implement them one way in one country, then another way in another. It is ridiculous. It's absolute ludicrous. And I felt like I wanted to speak on it today because it's driving me up the wall. It might not be my club that I support. I don't support Newcastle, I don't support Tottenham, I don't support Crystal Palace, I don't support Everton. I support the red, well, this shirt doesn't explain it, but I support the red and white of Rovers in League One. And I would... If that was don't get me wrong, Doncaster Rovers in the Premier League, I love it. Obviously, I've said it in the next 10-15 years. I'm being optimistic and said Doncaster will be a Premier League team with the way we're going. We will be a Premier League team in the next 10-15 years at the max. But if Doncaster was playing in that match, we were in Tottenham's position. Maybe Tottenham was taking a break or something. And if Doncaster was playing Newcastle and that happened to us, I would be going absolute. You wouldn't see a background right now behind me. You would see probably that picture right there moved to one side. You'd probably see that one get smashed. You'd see that one probably on the floor with broken glass. You'd probably see all the shells at the side of me absolutely destroyed. I would go mental if that was Rovers. So why can't I be passionate about something that it may be happening to other clubs, but it's happening to the sport that I follow and the sport that I love? So why can't I not talk about it? Because I care too much. I care too much about football. I'm a Rovers fan, but I'm a football fan as well. And I hate seeing teams robbed, teams unfairly treated. I hate seeing things go the way that they shouldn't do. The Brighton Man U game, yes, it was a penalty. I did think it was a penalty because it did come off the arm. But again, it's that same argument. It didn't look like he meant it, and he was using it to balance, because if he didn't use it to balance, he'd be going down injured on the floor instead, and you'd be ending up with a 2-2 draw and an injured top striker for Brighton, because it was Morpay that was at fault with the handball. So, and to be perfectly honest, not just VAR, but the refereeing as well. The refereeing was poor in those games. Refereeing was diabolical. There were a couple of decisions over this last week where, it should have gone a different way. And, even though Man U won it in the last kick of the game, I don't think there should have been that much added time anyway. I think they should have blown the whistle. I think, and to be fair, loads of Man U fans aren't even taking that win. They can take the 3 points for it, but they're not taking the win because they didn't deserve it, and they got lucky. Varchester United, as they're called. So, there's a lot of things going on right now in the Premier League that I thank God we're a League One club right now, because if we were in the Premier League and in that position, we'd be going mental, not getting points when we should have. Even Newcastle fans aren't. I think some Newcastle fans aren't even happy with a point. They play poorly, but they're not happy they got a point because they took it. They robbed it. They pretty much robbed it. And it comes back to that argument. And I was watching the analysis of the match, the Spurs-Newcastle one, and I see former players talking about, we need ex-players involved, we need to get involved, we need to help make the rules better, we need to implement the rules better. And I was listening to TalkSport on the way home just before I started recording this, and I went in town for a bit, and I was listening to TalkSport, and there was something I heard, and it was something to do with referees considering ignoring the handball rule that's been put in place. Please, referees, do this. Take a stand. Take a stand to the rules. And can I just mention, by the way, the handball rules before have been in their game for 100 so years, over 100 years. Why should a piece of technology take those rules and spin it on its head? Why? Just why? And do you know what the worst thing about it is? It doesn't matter how much we complain about VAR. It doesn't matter how much we complain about the handball rule because of the technology. It doesn't matter how much we complain about it. We can't get rid of it. Because don't forget, in 2010, when England were denied a goal that was rightly in the back of the net from Lampard, we cried for technology. We absolutely screamed to the top of the hills for it, like a banshee. We screamed for it. And Sepp Blatter didn't bring in the technology. And then goal line technology was introduced. That works well, apart from that one incident last season with Nyland. You guys know what it was. And, you know, then we bring in VAR. The logic of VAR is right. You know, if the referees miss something because the play's too quick, because let's face it, over the last 10, 15 years, the game has sped up big time. With quicker players, more skillful players, quicker action, quick attacking tactics, and things like that. So if the referee doesn't spot something that technology can spot, the logic is right, it's the way that it's run. But we can't get rid of it because we're going back on the word that we screamed 4 years ago when we said, let's have technology in football. So we're like digging ourselves our own grave, and they're going up and lapping it up thinking, haha, they're asking for it to go now. They asked for it. They don't want it anymore. You know, we told you so. And the heads of football are laughing at it right now. So, you know, you've got to look on the basis of it and think, the logic is right, but the way it's run is not. And you know what? There's one specific league that I think football in England needs to learn from in terms of how they run things, how they run the technology, how they run the rules. Bundesliga. They did things the right way. They did things in the correct manner. They stuck to the rules. They brought in the technology for the right place, at the right time, at the right moment. And I think it was something Steve Bruce said. VAR was supposed to point out the obvious. It feels like VAR has taken over the assistant's job. And the assistant, like, there was a female linesman, and I think she either put a flag down for something this past weekend, or she stayed the flag down, or she put it up or something. And VAR just completely went, I think, the opposite way to what she was deciding with the referee's help. So it's like VAR's trying to take someone's job. And, you know, right now in this current climate, that's something you don't need, because people need work, for goodness sake. You know, and it feels like VAR's becoming the new referee. It's like trying to make referees obsolete. You know, a bit of a broken Matt Hardy reference, but whatever. It's referees, and I hope that was true, that report on TalkSport about they might be ignoring the new handball rule. They need to take a stand to VAR and say, well, hang on a minute, VAR doesn't run the game, I run the game. We referees run the game, not some piece of technology at Stockley Park, or whatever it's called. I think it's Stockley Park, something like that. Referees need to take a stand now. They need to take a stand. And I agree about the ex-players getting involved. They should. Alan Shearer, John Barnes, Gary Lineker, Phil Thompson, Charlie Nicholas, Matt Letizia. They're out of work from Saturday now. They could get involved, you know, if they're not too busy doing paddy power. You know, they could get involved and help out. And this is the curtain raiser, right? I was listening to the commentary when they were about to give that penalty, and I don't know who it was on commentary. I think it sounded like Jamie Carragher in the Spurs Newcastle match, and he was like, I hope they don't give this, because Dyer had no control over that. So he was like, I hope they don't give this. And then when they gave it, it was like, oh, it was a massive sigh of disbelief, like, oh, here we go again. VAR controlling the referee's job. Referees, take a stand. Please take a stand. So that's a big old discussion about VAR. I might do a separate video on it as well, so including all the points we've talked about today, and expanding on it a bit more, looking at the actual handball rule, and seeing where it needs to be changed, and looking at people's analysis, see where they think it needs to be changed. I've got a video coming up this week with someone, hopefully, so I'll be able to discuss it with them as well, so I can't wait to have that big old discussion. And trust me, I've said it in the past, you guys are going to be really happy with who I'm working with this week. And hopefully, his team plays today, so hopefully he gets a win like we got the win, and we get to both share our victories in motion. But for now, guys, thank you very, very much for watching this long episode of the DRFC Daily Reports about Jon Taylor's comments, while Lokilo was substituted, and about the VAR debate. But for now, guys, thank you very, very much. My name is the CHALL. Please like, comment, subscribe. And for now, guys, have a nice day.